You know what time it is, no matter where you've been. So let's do it again. Listen up and let the sun shine in. We've got soul training. Time to practice what you preach. Ooh, yeah. Yes, we do. We've got soul training.
Dano, how have you been?
Just right, brother. How about you?
I tell you, you're just, the mark of a man reflects how many nicknames he's got. We got DDG, Double Diamond, Double Diamond, Daniel Gaines. I got Dano. I like Dano. You like Dano?
Wait a second. Double Diamond Daniel Gaines would be triple DG.
Yeah, I was in slow.
He added the double on there.
I was in slow math. When I was a kid. My book had a big M on it.
I tried to think a way that diamond made sense at all. And so what I finally came up with was that I was bringing truths that were hard but valuable.
Well, where I got that double diamond is I had a friend of mine who got real big, successful in Amway, and he was a double diamond Amway distributor. So I always thought that was pretty cool. I got free bleach and stuff because we were really good friends. So I wanted him to be triple diamond before it was over with.
There you go. I went down the double diamond slopes skiing one time.
Did you really? Wow, that was. I couldn't. They had a pretty good backstop to stop me with that. I wanted to tell you that Big Show Joe has done it again. You know what he's done?
What's that?
Well, he's done two things. He's loaded us up with a really, really, really good topic, and he's also loaded us up with a very, very special guest.
Distinguished.
That's right. I mean, I can't even, the word escapes me right now. But in addition to Big Show Joe, Dano, me, and we have a very special guest with Mr. Jackie Perkins, who serves as one of our elders here at the South Green Street Church of Christ. And so we brought in the big gun today. We're going to talk about some very good topics, or a good topic. And, it's discipline. We'll go ahead and let that out, unpack that. But church discipline. When we think about discipline, though, I'm going to ask you a question, Daniel. Had you rather receive punishment or discipline from your parents or your spouse? Which one?
My parents.
Okay. Well, I'm right there with you. Somebody once told me about being married. This guy told me, he said, Alan, do you ask yourself this question every time something comes up? Do you want to be right or you want to be happy? And I don't have to win them all. I want to be happy. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. So, I don't know. We just been recorded that saying that our spouses are pretty rough on us. So I don't know what we're going to do.
No, that's not at all.
I've got some questions going through my head about your home life right now, Alan.
Well, it's pretty easy. I just do what she says. That's how it works, and we love it. We're fine. We're good with that. We get along great. I do laundry, and I fold the clothes and whatever I'm in.
I'd appreciate it if you'd stop, because my wife may be listening to this and saying,
That's true.
Jackie, you don't fold clothes and do the laundry. So
I also do free seminars to help. I can do Feed Me. I can help you show you how to use the dishwasher, wash, and do colors, whites, all those things. So, but discipline is something that is not in some ways not a fun thing to think about in some ways, but you think about in our society, and we talked about parenting, in a fun kind of way. My dad, right before or my mother too, right before I would get spanked, I was, they didn't spare the rod or the belt or the broomstick when I was a kid, that they would always say, I'll start it, you finish it, Jackie, Big Show, or Dano. This hurts. This is going to hurt me worse
than it hurt you.
And I just never felt that, at the moment. But looking back, I see that now. I see that, and I'm thankful that I was not allowed to run wild. And
did your parents ever make you go pick out your own switch?
No, they didn't allow me to. It was never really premeditated. It was it was spontaneous. It was instant. That's something I did appreciate. It was over pretty quick. I mean, my dad, one time, I'll tell you this. When my dad was a little kind of much shorter than I am, but his hands were, because he had worked hard physically all his life. He used to pick up milk cans with two hands, and his hands were just huge, like baseball gloves, and they could fit over the top of my head. Even though I was 8 inches taller than him, he could still put his hand like over my whole head. And I got really smart one time, and I said something smart, and he was going to smack me, and I ducked, thinking I'd gotten away from it. But when I came up, he got me, came back up. So it didn't work out for me at all. But no, there was no premeditation with them. It was bang. It was
just happened right.
It was on, at that point. But I challenge my own kids and in my full-time job. Can you imagine if we just took all the traffic lights out of our community? What kind of chaos it would be? If you took all the stop signs, all the rules of driving, what kind of chaos would that be?
Well, I have witnessed that firsthand in Tanzania. When we first got there, especially, there were 2 traffic lights in Arusha, and they were not enforced whatsoever. They were strictly
suggestions.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, and it's pretty chaotic. They've really cracked down on that a lot in more recent years, but it's still pretty chaotic driving there with rules a little bit looser than we're used to.
I've told both of my kids those stop signs are not suggestions. They are for real. But when you think about, can you imagine, that's a traffic issue, but can you imagine if we lived in a society where there were no rules, you could do what you wanted to anytime you wanted to? And can you imagine even from a spiritual setting or the church setting, if, Jackie, he serves as one of our elders, and we're blessed to have 8 elders, and they provide shepherding. They try to help keep us on the straight, right path to the best of their ability, and it's up to us to respond to that. But also one of the big jobs I've learned over the years as a shepherd is you will have a wayward sheep sometimes, and that sheep's not always willing and ready to respond to being shepherded. And even after multiple attempts, that they still want to be rebellious and go their own way, and then that's when challenges kind of start to set in, So I think about, can you imagine if God did not lay out guidelines for all of us, but also guidelines for behavior, thoughts, morals, work ethic, all of those things, what kind of society we would live in, what kind of church would we have? So we think about discipline, we see the challenges that exist. And the only thing I wanted to start with is if you go to Romans 16:17, and one of the things I love, my Bible was given to me 21 years ago as a wedding present, and I don't know if they're still making them like this or not, but I have little subheadings that I really love in my Bible, and it says, avoid divisive persons. And Paul, he says, now I urge you, brethren, note those who cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you learned, and avoid them. And the only key word that I wanted to focus on here is cause. Note those who cause. When I hear the word cause, that tells me that somebody's making a choice. Somebody's making a choice to cause ripples. Somebody's making they're making a choice to cause rebellion, division. So that's just something they're choosing to do. So we all need to be redirected or reminded, and in some cases reprimanded. So we talk about the big idea of church discipline today is where we're kind of our deep dive for a few minutes.
Right. Well, maybe we ought to take a second here to define terms for our dear listener. Not everybody may be coming to this starting from the same page. Why don't we ask our in-house shepherd here, Jackie, what is the purpose and process of church discipline as you understand it? Just talk to us a minute about that.
Well, that's one of those questions that you have to be real careful about what you say and how you present yourself. There's a lot of perception out there about things that are going on. We've had some in the past. We've had some issues where, and not here, I'm just saying as general as a church, where somebody has come up and said, well, this person has done this, and what are you going to do about it as an elder? And it's not something that you can take lightly. It's not something that you just say, well, somebody said, and the rumor is that you're doing this, and so we're gonna discipline you, or we're gonna withdraw fellowship from you, and it has to be something that's well documented. It has to be something that is well known, and I don't mean well known as in everybody in the country has to know about it, but it has to be proven, I guess. Mm-hmm. I take it very seriously.
I was going to say, I like the word you said. presented. It's all in how you approach someone's. I worked for somebody years ago, and he would, one of his favorite phrases that he would use, and I use it today. If you come at he was a superintendent. If somebody came to him and says, "Well, I heard, so and so, one of your employees was, over here misbehaving," and he'd say, "Okay, who said it?" Or if I heard Big Show Joe, was really causing a ruckus at the high school basketball game, he would say, "Well, who said that?" "Well, I don't really want to say." He would stop. He'd say, "Well, if you're not, I'm not going to deal in rumors." So your rumors can be very
exactly.
Rumors can cause a lot. James even tells us, that little member, our tongue, can cause a lot of problems. So I like what you said about listen, gather facts, make a decision. It's got to be based on facts. And then when you gather your facts, what I'm hearing you say is, then you have to go above and beyond to, I guess, ensure that, hey, we're coming to Dano here out of love. We're coming to Allen out of, we're coming to you because we care about you.
It's not just the fact that you're going to somebody, but it's the way that you come to them. Are you coming to them in a loving fashion? Are you coming to them as a I want to drag you down, or I want to beat you down, or we talked about discipline of parents earlier, and we don't. I don't think it's an elder's responsibility to make somebody feel like they're any lower than anybody. God loves everyone, and we love everyone, and we want everybody to be saved, and that's the whole purpose.
Well, in that instance, the elders are trying to keep the church together,
exactly,
instead of push people out.
Exactly.
And then you're talking. The word love keeps coming up, and appropriately, I heard a wise man say, "Love does not equal approval."
Correct.
A lot. And so that's what we started the show with. If you love someone, sometimes you have to take hard steps.
I always think about the prodigal son. Every time I share, that's one of my favorite parables to share, one of my favorite Bible lessons to have. And I always emphasize that love does not condone. Love shows care. That's always been my approach. And another point I want to say now, man, so you got me so excited, Jackie. We got to come up with a nickname for Jackie. I'll work on that while you all keep talking.
I'm going to have a hard time remembering everybody's nicknames.
I'll work on that here just in a minute. While y'all were talking, I'll make some notes. But Jackie, parenting. When I think about what you all do, the only experience I have is relate to parenting. I've gone to both of my kids through tears out of frustration, and I've just reminded them that I'm not the police. I'm your father, and that's your mother, and we talk to you and help you. We're on the same page. We're not against you. We want to see you be successful and grow closer to God. We don't want you to move away. And this is why we're having this talk, is because we don't condone, we care.
I think that's important for parents and for shepherds and, the like is, we have to be aware of what's going on and how people are, what's going on in your life. This is a large congregation. We have several members here, and it's hard to get around to everybody. And like I said, I've just been doing this for it's a little over a year now. Came in after just before the pandemic hit, and it's been trial by fire. We've had a lot of issues to deal with, and we've had a lot of things. But everybody here has been very, very good about understanding what's going on, and they've followed some of the they follow the directions, and they're very good about understanding. And even if they don't agree with everything we've put out, they understand that we're doing the best we can with what's going on around us. And so we've been very fortunate to not have a lot of issues like that. As we were talking about earlier, I've been going here since I was in the 5th grade. So
you just graduated from high school, didn't you? I
did just last week, I think, and
wow,
it's better to take your time and do it right.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. The hardest 3 years of my life was 4th grade.
Yeah, and I didn't drive to 5th grade; they didn't have student parking.
That's right. And so I'm glad we're taking that lightly. That's good.
I'm serious. Nobody was more shocked than me when I graduated.
Yeah,
yeah. I thought they were all celebrating.
Well, I have a very very easy train to derail, and I think you're trying to derail it there a little bit.
I'm
But
sorry.
It happens.
yeah,
sometimes.
I know.
Then they'll bring us back.
He'll bring us back
church
around.
discipline.
Okay.
Yes. I'm
But
sorry,
anyway,
Daniel.
the thing that I was wanting to say was that you've got a lot of people here, and they're very good about it, and we haven't had any, as far as I know, the times that we've been here, we've had very little issues with that we've needed to address, that the elders needed to address, and we've had nothing like that since, of course, I've been an elder, so.
And I'll bring up the reason that this topic to me was a current issue is because at one point there was circulating on social media, someone had posted a letter where they had gotten from the elders about some of the things that they didn't agree with. They were encouraging this person to change their life, to come back to God. Well, apparently, at least at the time of this recording, it had backfired a little bit.
Yeah.
And had brought more negative feelings toward that congregation instead of this person understanding that, like you talked about, the shepherds were coming to them with love and trying to guide them back to God. That's a different discussion as how we do discipline whenever you all have to do discipline, I suppose. But that's why it brought about this topic today, was just seeing some of these things. And I thought, well, there's obviously some misconceptions and confusion about church discipline and what it is and what it isn't.
Well, if you talk about church discipline and you talk about, it's kind of like if your mom and dad came to you and said, this is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you. Then as Alan said earlier, I think he mentioned something about, well, I didn't understand it at the time, but I do now. That's the whole thing. No elder and that's worthy to be an elder should enjoy that. That should not be something that they look forward to. And I think that if you go into it with that understanding, then if an elder comes to you and says, this is, we need to talk. We've got a problem here. Then please take that in as love. They're trying to help you, and they're trying to be loving.
And I'm sure in the instance
Yes,
on the social media, there were conversations and things that had happened beforehand.
Sure.
But in the social media world we live in, facts are irrelevant a lot of times.
Sound
They
bites.
You just everybody has to make a quick reaction and have an opinion immediately without all of the facts.
And say with that situation, like you said, we don't know all the facts. I don't know all the things that eldership did with them. I don't know all the things that they had done in the past. And church discipline it's an inside thing. It's a family matter. It's not supposed to. It's not necessarily going to make sense to everybody on the outside. And I don't think this eldership, the congregation that's referenced in that letter that was circulating on social media, it's not their obligation to post a similar open letter to the world saying everything that's happened.
Basketball teams, baseball teams, all the time when a reporter asks them about a discipline, well, that's an internal matter, and everybody just moves on.
Exactly.
But for some reason, when it comes to religious matters, the world's not quite as forgiving.
They're not. But, what that represents, sometimes we can throw the terms church discipline around and mean it interchangeably with withdrawing fellowship. But that's not entirely accurate. Withdrawing fellowship is the culmination, it's the last stage in a process of church discipline. And that process is probably laid out most expansively in Matthew chapter 18. It probably would be beneficial for us to take a moment to look over at what the Bible actually says there in Matthew chapter 18, where it begins in verse 15 saying, "If your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. If he listens, you have won your brother." All right, so there's that first step. You become aware of your brother's sin. You go to him in private to exhort him about that situation. Now, that's something that in our modern world, maybe we've become so...
Don't judge me.
Don't judge me, yeah. And some of that maybe is from experience with religious hypocrisy in the past. but still, yeah, there's that idea. Who are you to judge? You're not perfect. You have, and I think when eldership, when anybody goes to correct a friend, we got to do so with humility, not coming from a place of, well, I've got it all figured out. Let me descend from on high and let you know how you're doing everything wrong. But nonetheless, they go directly to him, to the brother, not all around to everybody else, gossiping, like Jackie was talking about, not receiving gossip. Absolutely. And then verse 16, but if he does not listen to you, take one or two more with you, so that by the mouth of two or three witnesses, every fact may be confirmed. All right, so that kind of refers back to the standard in the Mosaic Law. You're supposed to have two or three witnesses. You can't have a conviction of anything without two or three witnesses. So you bring some others along to what this might look like now would be sort of our idea of an intervention. You got a small group of people that are confronting this friend, this loved one, with how their actions are having a negative effect on them and on other people. Alan is being true to his word, dear listener. He's sitting over there writing nicknames and doing all kinds of stuff.
I did like what you all talked about it being a family. With my kids, I've never, we don't publish anything on Facebook. I don't like post something like, just had to reprimand Ellie, or just had to, it's private. I mean, it's public, and I mean, it's not public, it's private. And that's why, it should be handled, because we are a family, and it shouldn't be aired. Don't air your dirty laundry. But I will say the only time I've ever used that "don't judge me" is when people at home, they look at me when I get an extra Reese,
mashed potatoes.
extra. This time of year, I have an addiction with the Reese eggs,
Sure.
the Reese peanut butter cup eggs. Okay,
That's my wife's favorite.
Reese. It's not Reese's. It's
Reese.
Reese.
I thought it was Reese. Reese. I had a friend named Reese Rice once, and he's on my. But you can get 4 for $2 at a local drugstore. But anyway, I don't judge me because I'm getting an extra one. So, but that's sometimes I use that.
Were you done with the scripture there?
Not quite.
Go ahead.
All right, let's jump back into it. Verse 17, picking up with what Jesus is saying here. He says, if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector, which in that culture, that's a pariah. It's somebody that's outcast that you're not dealing with. And the reason, I mean, so there's a process there. You're going to him privately. You're going to him with a small group. You're going to him with the whole church. And only then, as a last resort, are you saying, okay, well, you're not aligned with what we're aligned with. We have to be separated here.
And to go back, like we were talking about, it's a rare thing when you follow all the steps all the way through. I've attended church my whole life. My dad was an elder, my grandfather was an elder. And I can't remember off my head ever seeing this done off the top of my head in my nearly 40 years.
I think it's one of the most neglected aspects of teaching in the modern church, partially because it's so distasteful and unpleasant.
Yeah,
we don't want to do that. We don't want, and I think part of it too is people are skeptical and think it won't work. If you withdraw from somebody, they're not going to come back. And part of that is, in order for withdrawing fellowship to have a meaningful impact on a person, there has to be meaningful fellowship to withdraw.
I'm just asking a question, but I mean, doesn't the withdrawal, I think, serve two purposes? It also protects the flock too.
Sure,
100%.
And also protects them or us. I mean,
but in my mind, I guess the key there is, you have to have a relationship, number one, and they do. You have to, if you're going to withdraw. But the thing is that if you look at Scripture, you're giving them a warning, so to speak. You're letting them know this is, you're doing this, and that's not right. And here's what the Bible says, and you're coming to them in love. And then you're going back to them if they continue to do it, and you're going, okay, this is, we're really trying here. Help us out. We want you to. It's not a knee jerk reaction. No. And that's the thing that society, I think, as a whole right now is they hear something and it's a knee jerk reaction. Well, let's hammer somebody because
fast food mentality.
We don't agree with them.
I want it right microwave.
Yeah,
right now.
But it is a last resort. I mean, it is. And you do have to have a relationship in order to withdraw from it. I mean, how can you withdraw if? And I think most of the time, once you go to somebody, and kind of this is kind of experience, but once you go to somebody a couple of times, you probably don't have to withdraw from them because they're going to withdraw, or they're going to come back stronger. One of the two, and hopefully they come back stronger.
And that's the point of the withdrawal
exactly.
anyhow, is to bring them back.
Exactly.
It's not to put a stamp on their forehead, rejected.
Exactly.
It's to bring them back.
Great point.
My final question is, I know that it's not been done, but I was just wondering from a legal standpoint, have you ever had any discussion about legally, like, I didn't know, some people want to, how can you legally do me that way, or how can you not allow me to do these things? I know I didn't know if there was a legal aspect. I didn't know.
I'm not aware of one, Alan. Now that doesn't mean there is not one. Again, I'll go back to, can I plead that I don't, haven't been doing this very long, but I would lean more on some of the elders that have been elders for a considerable length of time, if that's the case. Or
well, at the end of the day, we're more concerned with God's
absolutely
law than we are the law of this land.
I just didn't know, like the letter y'all told me, if there were any legal ramifications. Who posted that letter? I was just curious. Did the church didn't post it? Surely.
No. It was the lady that had received the letter.
Okay, well that's on her then. I mean, so I didn't. I was making sure. I was just curious about the legal aspect of it, but I do have two.
They didn't post her picture with a sign next to it or anything. So.
But now, Joe, to your point, yeah, absolutely. What's the Bible say? Right. And that's at the end of the day, that's the decision. It's what the Bible says. But at the same time, we do want to maintain, because we want to avoid the very appearance of evil. We don't want to cause any problems, and we're trying to live in the world, not of the world.
That's what Paul says, 1 Corinthians 5 verses 9 through 12, and I'll just paraphrase that. That's what he's saying. He's saying, you have to put away from yourselves the evil person, because you don't want to give the appearance that I learned a long time ago, what you permit, you promote.
Exactly.
And there's, you said the purpose of it is to bring the person back. It's the last ditch effort to bring them back, but that's only half true. There is a purpose also for the people that are still faithful members of the congregation, that you are doing two things for them. One, you are making an example and saying, sin is serious.
We won't stand for it.
We won't stand for it. It's a deterrent for others. But also, it's the person that you would withdraw fellowship from. This is not the person struggling with sin, trying to do right and struggling and failing and falling and getting up. And that's not this type of person. This is the rebel. This is the person that has rejected numerous attempts to correct them and guide them, and they're saying, no, I am going to live my life the way I live my life. They have a rebellious attitude, and you've got to protect the flock from that spreading.
I like what Daniel said a while ago, and as I've worked with behavior for 26 years, that it's almost like a tiered approach. I mean, like you've jumped through all of these, and so I appreciate that. But as we close, I did come up with 2 nicknames. How many grandkids you got, Jackie?
I have 4.
4. That's awesome. Okay, I got 2.
At the time of this recording.
At the time of this recording, I have 4.
Okay. What about jumping Jackie Papa Perkins? You like that one?
That's a mouthful.
I don't tongue twister.
Well, nicknames are supposed to shorten.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if a pun is intended, but I got another one I think you'll like.
Okay.
Little John.
No, see, that
you don't like Little John.
No,
I was thinking about the Roger Miller song.
Well,
Doodly doodly doodle all day. The Roger Miller song, Little John.
Yeah. But before we do close, I want to really thank you guys for asking me to be a part of this. I think it's really good work. You guys are doing a great job, and Big Show Joe obviously takes a lot of credit, but without the content, Dano is absolutely yeah, and Alan over here dubbing and stuff, and that's
dubbing.
Isn't that what it's called?
Dabbing.
Dabbing.
Yeah.
Dabbing. I don't know. You can tell I'm really hip about all that stuff.
I look like I'm dubbing when I dab.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for all you're doing. So.
Well, Brother Jackie, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your insight. We appreciate your service as an elder here, and hope that you'll take our gratitude back to the entire eldership for making Soul Training podcast possible.
Thank you for the love that you show all of us.
Yes, and we already passed around some thanks here, but we want to make sure and thank our dear listener for letting us be a part of your day, and we'd like to hear from you. If you have thoughts on this topic or any other topic that you'd like for us to discuss, give us some feedback. We want you to be a part of this conversation. You can email us at soultrainingpodcast@gmail.com. In the meantime, share it with your friends. And
One thing.
Yeah.
At this time, if you haven't done so, I'd like you to go up on your app and give us a 5-star rating. It's literally going to take you however many seconds it takes to click one button. Give us a 5-star rating, and that will help others find Soul Training too.
It does. If this has been a blessing to your life, then help us bless others as well. And in the meantime, until next time, keep soul training.
We've got soul training. Time to practice what you preach. Ooh, yeah. Yes, we do. We've got soul training.
To learn more, you can email us at soultrainingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can write to us, P.O. Box 503, Glasgow, Kentucky, 42142. That's Soul Training.